Om Shanti and welcome back to Light of Knowledge. We have a very special guest with us today, a dynamic personality from Russia, Dr. Inga Koryagina. She's the head of the International Division, Faculty of Finance, Plekhanov Russian University of Economics. Let us all welcome Dr. Inga to Godlywood Studio.
I'm very, very happy to be here in India. And I feel here very happy and joyful. And thanks for inviting me.
And Dr. Inga, we are very pleased to have you with us today. And we are going to talk about, since your expertise is management, we're going to talk about maybe the secrets of management and the principles of management. Also, as I understand, your specialty is putting pieces together, bringing people together. And we'd like to start off with the family unit, because in the family, each person is a piece, yet it's a jigsaw puzzle where all the pieces have to come together to have a cohesive, functional family. So we wanted to ask you, let's start off with the breadwinner of the family, the man of the house. He goes to work and he has a lot of stress at work, He comes home with a lot of baggage. And unfortunately, a lot of times they will take it out on their spouse or their children. The children are eagerly waiting for the dad to come back and share their day with him. In such a scenario, he comes home with his temper and his rage, and he's not able to give what he should be giving. So what would you suggest in this scenario? How should he manage his anger?
Okay. So there's a very nice point has been made how to manage. So we should look at on the family like it's a small unit which can be really managed. Mm-hmm. And for example, when we go to work, we treat everybody with respect. Mm-hmm. And we allocate our time and energy, and we know that we should be powerful, right. Like inside. Right. So to deal with different variety of characters, for example, different variety of people. So, but when we come home, we just like turn off this trigger, and we become very exhausted. And the question is, why do we do that? So, and if we start looking on a family like on a business unit, we would not allow ourselves to be so frustrated and to be so lazy. Okay. This is actually the trigger. This is a key point. To treat your family neighbors like not belonging to you. Mm-hmm. So they are not your possessions.
That's a very important point, yes, because we come home and we take them for granted.
No. So like you said, everybody is individual. Mm-hmm. Like at work, for example, we give space to everyone. Mm-hmm. So we want to bring benefits out of every employee. Mm-hmm. So why not channel this attitude to the family members? Right. Why do we, look at the family as a mass? Mm-hmm. It's not a mass. So they're all again individual. Right. So the same like your subordinates, for example. Right. If you're a manager, so can you manage your employees? Okay, so can you manage your family in the same way? So bring the same tools on the family path.
Right. More often than not, this can also have to do with the energy level, be it your physical level or your emotional, mental level. I believe from my personal experience that when we're at work, we push ourselves. I know I'm tired, but I'm at a workplace and my livelihood depends on it. But when I come home, it's my family and they have to understand me that I've been at work all day and I'm bringing food to the table. So they have to give me that benefit of doubt. And I can yell at them but they have to understand me.
Okay, and ask yourself, how long can they understand you? How long would you bear, for example, if you were in their shoes? How long can you actually bear this situation? Like limitless sources of family resources, family energy towards you. Maybe it's like, for example, having a sick member in the family. So a sick member becomes immediately dependent on everyone, and every member of family becomes codependent on this person. So this person kind of, all his responsibilities are distributed pieces by pieces to all the family members. Okay, so but how long can family members hold it and bear that? So again, think about it from the management perspective. So think, for example, if it happened at the workplace. So you've got a sick employee, okay, so he's not at work, so his responsibility is divided pieces by all your subordinates and you as well. So, but how long can you bear it? Okay, so a week, 2 weeks, but then you will either employ a new one, for example, if the person is sick for a long time, or he will come back and he will take his responsibility back. So efforts of your family members and patience of your family members is not limitless.
That's a very important point. We cannot go on expecting day in and day out for them to show that kind of patience.
Again, they are not your belongings. The same as subordinates. Of course, you can trigger them saying like, okay, I'm paying you the money, but doesn't it sound a little bit not respectful? So always think about this respect.
Okay.
And if you're saying that they will never leave you, believe me, they will. Just believe me. You know, the most loving person will leave one day.
It was a very interesting, powerful statement that even the most loving person leaves. And it's a message out there for everyone. But I would like to take that up a little bit more. The woman of the house, the lady of the house, she is giving for the most part. And, she's giving to her children, her spouse. And that's the innate nature of a woman, if I may. At what point does she say to herself that I will not be a doormat anymore? At what point does she put down her foot and say, like, this is too much, I cannot take this anymore?
This is also a very, very good point, and especially in our world, like Western world. So we've got lots of discussion on that because especially younger generation of women, so they don't want to quit their job, so they have quite nice jobs, so promotion, and they don't take family as something they can devote themselves.
Okay.
No, a family and especially kids, so they've been taken, while they travel, so they take them to the restaurant. So the whole world, now the infrastructure of the world makes it comfortable for the families not to stay at home and to be, separated from life. And that's why we share responsibilities. We share. So somehow we started, breaking this old attitude that this is female pursuits and this is male pursuits. Unfortunately, it doesn't work.
Okay.
I always ask, for example, gentlemen, okay, so you're tired, but when you come home, do you look at the face of your wife? Isn't she tired? Raising up your kids, cleaning the house, doing all these things. So do you concentrate only on your things, or do you watch anything around, for example? And does your unhappy face make you happy?
Okay, that's an important statement again. Does your own unhappy face make you happy? Okay. that goes for the wife as well. Her husband has come home and she's tired all day dealing with her kids and cooking and cleaning. And if she puts on an unhappy face, then I guess the same question we can ask the wife as well.
Yeah,
Right.
that's why we'll come back to the terms of management. So we have a very good saying, actually. A good manager wouldn't do anything that a good employee would do.
Okay, let me get that straight.
Yeah, so for example, if you know that you get tired of some things, can you, for example, delegate it?
Okay, that makes sense.
So in a family, for example, if you know that you get exhausted of some routine, or you simply don't like it, nobody can ever force you to do something which you don't like. But everybody takes family for granted, and say that, for example, no, you should do that. Why? So you're not so forced, for example, being an employee.
Yeah.
So, and you can easily change your job. You can easily change your manager.
Right.
So everybody, would even support you, saying, no, quit this job, don't stay there. So why everybody supports staying in a toxic family?
Right, right.
So you are free. Of course, we can say that no, there are some difficulties, so that women, for example, don't have enough money to leave their husband. I'm not actually supporting the idea of breaking families. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about respect and self-respect and managing wisely, not using.
Right.
Because when you bring all your emotional stuff, like when you reveal it in front of the family members who even don't have enough degree to deal with your emotions, so why do you put them into psychological position? They're not psychologists, they are not psychiatrists, so they simply don't know how to deal with your anger.
Right.
And you just poison them. You just bring this toxic energy into your family environment. And it's like, for example, to bring toxic on the land. Will the land give you fruits next year?
No.
It's so obvious.
It's as obvious as that.
It's so obvious. So people, excuse me, they are alive creatures. They are not robots.
Right.
They are not machines.
Right, right.
Okay, so you can poison them, but I'm sorry, they can die. They can get sick.
Right, right. Speaking of sick, you briefly touched upon that, having a sick member in the family. And that can take a very heavy toll on your finances, on your energy, on your time. So this is a very practical situation, which I think if we can talk about, how do you deal with, and I'm talking maybe like a terminally ill person. How do you deal with something like this?
Well, of course, it's I would say it's not regular, right? So like extra, a little bit extraordinary situation.
Right.
So, but what I can say, not suggest, but I will just show the perspectives, and then when you know the steps, you can manage.
Okay.
Okay. So, but I'm not going to say do this or do that.
Right.
So you are free to choose, to select.
Right.
Yes. So when something arises and it's very heavy and tough, so everybody tries to cooperate and to solve it immediately. But if the problem or the situation is not solved immediately, so be ready that people will leave you. Just gradually you will be alone. How are you going to cope with that? How are you going to manage? So when you're alone, you shouldn't be alone. So don't try to put everything on your shoulders and still go out and look for help. Maybe not for your immediate friends. they have already been exhausted helping you. You know, again, what we should know that help and cooperation has its own limit.
It has its own limits.
Yes, and so if you've been helped once by some people, don't go to them twice. It's like, for example, when you plant something on a piece of land. So the land is already exhausted after the first harvest. So find another piece of land. But the trigger is, the point is, the key is not to be alone, because it might take actually a long time. So always look for some new helps, for some new people, for some new solutions. So don't bear it by yourself, because it's gonna be exhausted.
Right. If we can move on now to what we talked about a little bit, the work scenario, which all of us have to, deal with it day in and day out. From your point of view or your experience, I wanted to ask you, how do the young generation where the husband and wife both are working, how do they look at the family unit and in terms of managing their time and money? What is their perspective these days?
So you mean how to manage or how to balance, for example, life and career?
Right.
Life and career.
Right.
So the same as, for example, we're going to start a new habit. So we should allocate some time and money.
Okay.
But mostly actually time. And we seek this time. So we say to ourselves that, okay, so I'm not going to be with my friends, or I'm going to omit some activities because I'm having a new habit. So when we have a new habit, so it gets easier for us. But when we have, for example, a family, or we have to balance, for example, something with the family, we start feeling guilty. And we think that we should manage everything.
Right.
Not at all. So again, go back to this habit, for example, technique. So when you want to start a new habit, so you just cross out some activities of your life.
Okay, I understand. So you have to make the time. You cut down on a few things and you make time for what you want to do.
Yes.
So same thing applies to the family.
The same.
If you want to start a family, you cut down on your other activities.
Yeah, you should be mentally prepared. Of course, nobody can be prepared, like forever, because life is very, very different. But at least you should be prepared that every day will come unusual situation, and those situations will shake you if you are shakeable, or they will not shake you if you are stable and still.
Very nice. Yes.
Okay, so if you already, beforehand knew that, okay, so it's time and money consuming. It's the same, for example, when you start your own business. Time and money consuming. So it requires lots of love and patience. Just lots of love and patience. And that's it. And nobody guarantees you anything. Because we initiate these things not because we want some benefits, but just because of the path. So we start, for example, we have a family, not just because we want something from them, but it's just because we want to be with them.
Yeah.
Okay, so and if you want to be with somebody, you immediately start caring, and you eliminate your demands.
Okay. So that's a very important tip. Eliminate your demands. Dr. Inga, you made a very valid point here that cut down your demands. And I was just thinking about it. in the terms of management or being in the corporate world, you kind of have to have your demands. Whereas if you look at a value-based system, demands are not that commonplace. So how do you find the middle ground between the two?
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting and intriguing point, as the world was changed actually 3 years ago because a new generation came on the market. And simply they just disappear. You can demand, you can claim, you can do anything. They just don't do that. And to us, to the adults, this is a very good lesson. Then we are not heard and we are not listened. And maybe something which we tell is not really very right, and maybe the old management doesn't work anymore. The old management, approach of demanding, setting up, requests, it just failed. This management system failed because young generation, they are not afraid to leave their jobs at all. They're not connected to their bosses. So they don't see why one boss is better than the others. So it's not about not being respectful. No, it's not about that. But it's just they feel higher values for the world. So does the boss, for example, set up such goals which motivate them and turn on the mental and intellectual system on the higher level.
Okay.
So, because the new generation, they work for the whole world. They don't limit themselves, for example, to work for a boss, so they don't understand what does it mean to work for one person or work, for example, for one company. But everything is connected, and they see themselves and their department and their company already integrated into the world. So they don't look for the integration anymore. So they already, internet has already integrated, like everybody. So coming back to setting the goals, I would turn it like set the goals in the right way. So make them valued. And once a young person feel this value benefits to the world, so you don't have to push them at all. You don't have, because even motivation is now disappearing. So we don't have to motivate anybody because they are already motivated. So by their richness of their goals.
We are having this conversation and it's going so beautifully well, but we do have time constraints. So we would like to wrap up this episode, but we definitely would like to have you back in our Godlywood studio again so we can continue with this discussion.
It's been a pleasure to be here and talking to you, and thank you for such inspiring questions which make them fly.
Thank you. Dr. Inga had some very special tips for us today. When it comes to a family, do not look at it as a crowd or a mass. Each one of us is an individual unit that deserves the respect. In addition to that, she has also suggested cutting down our demands to make more time for our family. With these words, we'd like to conclude this episode, but this discussion will continue in our next episode. So we look forward to seeing you again. Until then, take care.